Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage, I can't afford a carriage, but you'll look sweet. Hello, Cuban Writer here with Darkling Faye.
Hello.
And we've just come from watching Ghost in the Shell.
We actually haven't talked to each other about it, so he doesn't know if I liked it. I don't really know if he liked it, so it'll be interesting to see.
Well, let me begin by giving a little synopsis. A Ghost in the Shell was originally an anime that I watched when I was much younger, and I really enjoyed. It had a lot of interesting imagery and visualizations, and the story was somewhat compelling. Now they've remade it, and this movie has been rife with controversy because of the casting. A lot of people felt there should have been an Asian actress in the lead role instead of Scarlett Johansson. But what I found most fascinating about this is that they managed to capture the majority of the imagery and aesthetic from the original anime. I was really impressed how these scenes just jumped out at me as being straight from the cartoon.
Well, I never watched the anime or the cartoon. I knew nothing about any storyline that had to do with this movie, and I didn't really read anything of the controversy.
Well, what did you think of the way it looked?
I thought the movie was amazeballs great, and I would want to see it again.
Really?
I thought it was awesome.
Was it mostly the visualizations that drew you in, or was it the story?
I thought it was both. I thought it was really compelling. I really liked it. This is actually, I think, would be a really interesting kind of role-playing universe to do, because I know that we do a lot of tabletoping or even like online forum writing. I really loved it.
Well, it definitely, of course, has a very strong cyberpunk feel, because you have everyone with enhancements and a corporate environment that seems to largely control society. What was your favorite thing about the movie?
I just loved everything about it. I thought the writing was really tight. I liked the graphics that they did. I liked how she was really stiff in places, which made sense because she was trying to portray that she was robotic. Her mind was there, but it wasn't her body. I liked those little nuances that she tried to convey.
Yeah, a friend we saw it with had mentioned that she seemed to be moving strangely in places, but that was an actual intelligent portrayal of someone who's an alien in their own body.
Yeah, I liked those little quirks that I felt like probably the director wanted to have conveyed, which I thought was really intelligent.
Okay, I'm going to pretty soon enter into some spoiler territory, so if you're not interested in knowing anything about the film before you see it, other than what we've already said, tune out now. But now I'm going to get on to the plot, which made some significant differences from the original anime. But it was really interesting to me because it felt to me like they were mixing pure visuals from the anime with the story of RoboCop, where you have this guy who's transformed into a robot by a corporation. The only part of him that's real is basically the head, maybe part of the torso in RoboCop, but in her case, it's just the brain. There's this evil corporation that's involved with this that's eventually largely overcome by the end of the film. And then in RoboCop, he goes back to work with the police, who are the righteous small group. And in this one, she goes back to work with the righteous CIA equivalent organization.
Yeah, they don't really call it anything specific, but it definitely is a government organization.
Yeah, what do they call it? Section 6 or something?
Section 9.
Section 9.
And the prime minister is the one who they are beholden to, that really calls their orders that they do. So yeah, it's some government secret kind of organization that a lot of people don't know about.
She's basically James Bond, right?
I would think it's like a MI5 type situation where it really is more of like the CIA. It's more covert operations where probably even a lot of the government doesn't know exists.
So I'm kind of glad they improvised additional story, because story was a weak point on the original anime. It was intriguing to me because it was exploring concepts I really hadn't seen up to that point in my life. But I don't think it was suitable to be stretched out into a movie like this. Making it a different plot where there was an original person who was very upset at having had this done to him, and then having her realize that she had been lied to as well, then slowly unraveling the conspiracy to create this new technology. That worked fine. I thought that was a good modification to the plot.
Yeah, I went in not knowing the original. So do you feel like people will be upset and not enjoy it if they were really huge fans of the anime and what was done previously? I guess what you'd call canon for this?
Well, I think that people who are super fans of the original might be upset that the plot was altered, but they might be less upset when they consider how much of the visuals were kept the same. They really worked hard to keep key scenes looking the same and certain key characters looking the same. There were certain things I didn't like about the visuals, but some of these were things I didn't like about the visuals in the original anime, which blew me away at the time, but there were certain stupid things that they did. In the original anime, they had these robot fingers they would use to type really fast. But this is a world where people's brains hook up to computers. So why would you need to type at all?
Well, they kind of showed that a little bit in that car scene, the robot fingers.
Yeah, and I was like, of all the things to take from the original anime, please don't take the one thing that really bothered me about the original anime.
But it wasn't all across the board. It was just a brief snippet of a scene, so...
Yeah, and it was also a brief scene in the anime. It's like they just wanted to incorporate that in there to give an homage to the original, a little nod to the fans, and they couldn't know that I secretly hated that one aspect of the original.
It's true. It's true. So, but I know that you didn't really enjoy this movie so much,
Well, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was okay.
So what...
I didn't regret seeing it, but I didn't feel like, wow, when I left the theater. It was just like, okay, I saw a movie.
So why was it just okay for you? So that means that there were things about it that you didn't really enjoy. Sorry, that's our cat again.
I think the main thing is that there was not enough new in it because I felt really strongly that I was recognizing the RoboCop storyline.
Oh.
And the visuals were the same as the anime pretty much. So I didn't feel like they were bringing anything new or innovative. I will say a little tip of the hat to them for incorporating some modern social issues, because consent was brought up a lot, and I think it was being used as a metaphor. When she consented to certain procedures and didn't consent to others, and they violated her consent in some cases, and the good guys followed her consent when it came up. So they were clearly using this as a metaphor for women and their control over their own bodies. So that was interesting, but that's not enough to add to the RoboCop story for me to say, wow, they really took a new angle on it.
Well, I mean, I would say like the RoboCop story though is typical of like a cyberpunk type situation storyline, futuristic when you're talking about AI type of situations and things. It's nothing new, but I thought they did this very cleverly. I thought it was done very well. I really liked it. I enjoyed this better than RoboCop.
Wow, I did not enjoy this better than RoboCop, but I will say it was a very pleasant repackaging of the old story. There was nothing in here to strongly dislike unless you're like me and robo fingers really bother you. But really, I can't say anything particularly negative about it. I just didn't come out feeling wowed or like they elevated the material to a new level.
So do you feel like if you hadn't watched the anime before and didn't know anything about it, you would have enjoyed the movie more? Or
Absolutely.
Less?
Okay.
So
I would have enjoyed...
You do feel like that did play a role in your, I guess, I wouldn't non-enjoyment where you couldn't really feel like you enjoyed it as much because it was a remake but not a remake?
Yeah, I'll go back to the original anime. Its story wasn't amazeballs. It was its visualizations that were amazeballs. Well, if I hadn't seen the original anime, I would have been watching this whole movie going, wow, look at that visual. Wow, look at that visual. And that would have gotten me pumped up and a little adrenaline flowing. So I didn't have that experience, right? And then I was familiar with the RoboCop story, and you're right, it's a trope in sci-fi, cyberpunk style.
It's a typical sci-fi thing that comes up a lot of times, especially in role players probably have seen it in storyline after storyline of games and different things like that.
So there was nothing like, I wasn't like wowed by the story. I was like, oh, I recognize that story. That's standard story C. Yeah. And the visuals, I was like, I'm really impressed how they managed to incorporate the visuals, but it wasn't new and amazing to me. Whereas for you, probably everything you saw was like, oh, what a neat effect.
Yeah, I didn't know anything going in. Like I said, I'm not a huge anime fan, so I'd never watched it. I heard bits and pieces of people complaining about controversy with it, but I never read anything up on it and stuff like that. So for me, I went in there just thinking like, oh, what's this movie going to be about? And I liked the sci-fi part of it. I thought it was very cleverly done. I thought it was well written. I liked the interpersonal relationships that the people in I guess this government group had with each other, and I liked how the person who was head of the government finally, because you get this a lot in sci-fi things where you have like a corporation that builds all the weapons and has all of the material, and then you have the government entity that uses their weapons and material, and there's usually like a conflict. And for whatever reason, in a lot of these sci-fi type things, the government agency is never as clever as the corporate head honcho guy. And it was really nice for once to see that someone who is kind of head of this super secret government organization is actually really intelligent and smart and sees danger coming like a mile away, which makes total sense. And that you can't really get you can't get him unawares. It's not like he can't see people are going to try and backstab him. It's like, I'm pretty sure if you're going to be in the CIA for a long time, you're going to get those like spy agent type of senses, and you're just going to know that type of. So I thought that was so nice to finally see. And it's nice that they actually got to see skills, and that it's the corporate head honcho that really is kind of that ego that gets in the way, which makes total sense of he thinks I'm so rich and so powerful and loses kind of sense of reality in some respects. And I thought it was nice to actually see that played out. Finally, it's not the ego and rich guy who makes all the smart moves and the government guy who makes all the dumb moves.
Yeah, they really showed why these people were in the organization they were part of. And I love the line that the head honcho of Section 9, was it 9 or 6?
It was Section 9.
I love his line where he's like, you don't send a rabbit to kill a fox.
I thought that was so clever and witty, and it was so nice to finally see a movie that has that kind of cleverness and witty dialogue and writing between characters. I really liked that. I thought that was really well done.
So I think I can mostly just recommend this most strongly to people who aren't familiar with the source material, can experience it all brand new, and all the wonder that's in it will grow in their hearts as opposed to me.
Yeah, I really thought the visuals were really well done. I thought that it really helped make the story. I thought it went hand in hand. It might not be as good of a story. You might not have enjoyed it as much if they didn't do the visuals as well as they did. I liked the fight scenes. I liked how they choreographed stuff. I really, for once, liked the CGI of stuff, because normally I'm not a huge CGI fan. I feel like it feels really fake, and I really felt like they built this futuristic world in a realistic fashion that makes sense.
What would you give this as a score? I think I know that it's better than the first episode of Iron Fist.
Oh, it's totally better than the first episode. I'd love to see this again. Like, I would go to the movie again tomorrow. I would give it a 5 out of 5. Awesome. If there's like a 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, we don't really have
I think I would do 3 out of 5 because it was okay to me and I enjoyed myself, but there was no wow moments for me. But again, that's probably because I was familiar with both sources of the material that they seem to use as inspiration for this. So, thank you all for listening. This is going to be Cuban Writers signing off.
Goodbye, darling.
See you all next time.
But you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do.